In a government facility, several scientists have been killed. Agents rush to the scene. Sarah Corvus is found covered in blood. Without warning, she lunges at the agents, but one of them, Jae Kim, shoots her. After shooting her, he looks at her with tears in his eyes and tells her he loves her. Jamie Summers, a bartender, returns home, where she takes care of her younger sister, Becca, who often causes trouble. The next day, Jamie wakes up to Becca playing loud music. After an argument, Jamie tells her to get ready for school and leaves the room. As she drives her to school, another argument breaks out. Becca accuses Jamie of being controlling and insists that their father never tried to control her. Jamie snaps back, reminding her that their father isn't around anymore. Later, Jamie attends a university lecture given by her boyfriend, Will, who teaches bioethics. That evening at dinner, Will tells her he has been offered a promotion in Paris. Jamie doesn't want to move. She has a job and responsibilities here. She then reveals that she is pregnant. Hearing this, Will asks her to marry him. On their drive home, a truck driven by Sarah crashes into their car, leaving Jamie critically injured. Jamie is rushed to a hospital, but her injuries are severe. Seeing this, Will takes her to a secret government lab, where she is given advanced bionic implants to save her life. She receives mechanical replacements for her eye, ear, arm, and legs. When she wakes up, she learns she has lost the baby and discovers what has been done to her. Seeing her new body, she panics and screams. Will tries to calm her down, but she pushes him away. When she wakes again, she thinks it was a dream, but Will returns and confirms it's real. Meanwhile, the people in the research facility hold a meeting about Jamie. Most believe she is a good candidate for the implantation program, considering her past determination and resilience. Jay, however, doesn't want the experiment to continue, believing it's too dangerous. After the meeting, he shares his concerns with Will, but Will remains firm in his decision. Ruth visits Jamie for a psychological evaluation, but Jamie is angry about being held against her will. Ruth tries to calm her before continuing. Afterward, Ruth gives Jay a drawing Jamie made. It's a picture of Sarah. Jay asks her to keep it secret. Suddenly, alarms blare throughout the facility. Will is helping Jamie escape. She runs into the woods, her enhanced speed and agility allowing her to evade capture. Later, Will tries to contact her, but Jamie stops responding. After testing her newfound abilities, she returns home to Becca, apologizing for being away. Becca, still angry, demands to know where she's been, but Jamie can't tell her. Meanwhile, Sarah, who was also part of the same bionic program, finds Jamie and confronts her at the bar where she works. Seeing Sarah gives Jamie sudden visions that make her sick. Sarah follows her into the bathroom. Later, Jamie begins hearing Sarah's voice in her head. Outside, a man tries to rob her, but she easily overpowers him. She then goes to Will to ask what's happening to her. He explains that a chip has been implanted in her head and describes her enhancements. That night, Jamie and Will spend the night together. When Jamie asks about Sarah, Will becomes nervous. Before he can answer, a bullet crashes through the window and hits him in the chest. Jamie sees that it's Sarah. Jay, who has been monitoring Will's apartment, rushes inside, but Jamie is already gone, chasing Sarah. She catches up with her in the rain, and they fight fiercely, their bionic abilities evenly matched. The fight ends when a helicopter arrives overhead, and Sarah uses the distraction to escape. Jamie returns to Will's apartment and sees him being taken into an ambulance. Jonas Bledsoe, the CEO of the facility, the Berkut Group, approaches her and tells her that what she carries inside her body represents a large part of his fortune. Jamie tells him that if they plan to use her abilities, they will have to do it on her terms. Jaime and her sister Becca attend Will's funeral. Among the mourners is Jonas, who urges Jaime to join his secret organization, but she refuses, wanting a normal life. After dropping Becca off, Jaime visits Will's apartment and finds a dossier with her name hidden under the floorboards. The file, created by the Berkut Group, includes her IQ test and old photos. Needing air, she stops at a bar. When she gets sick, Jonas follows her and again tries to recruit her. She demands answers, and he explains his group secretly stops global threats. Jaime listens, but still declines. Jonas and colleague Ruth later review footage of a destroyed Idaho town called Paradise, showing 14 dead and a possible biological attack. At a diner, Jaime meets friends who try to comfort her, but she feels detached. At a bookstore, she meets Antonio Pope, who gives her advice about finding purpose. Later, a news report announces Paradise has been quarantined by the military. Outside, Jaime hears a woman crying on a high ledge. She races up the building and saves her. The woman is startled by her speed, but Jamie jokes that it's thanks to Pilates. Later, Jaime then visits Jonas again. Jaime lays down her work conditions. Home every night, no weekends. Becca covered under health insurance and attendance at Becca's talent show. Jonas agrees and reintroduces her to Antonio, who will train her. In the lab, technician Nathan adjusts her bionic ear. Antonio reveals their earlier meeting was staged to test her. Even the dog Scraps was used to trigger old memories. Training begins under Jay Kim, who teaches Sarah Corvus's combat style. Jaime experiences flashbacks linked to Sarah's data and learns her body retains muscle memory from it. Jay warns her that being bionic doesn't make her invincible. Jay explains her abilities, running 60 miles per hour, crushing bricks, bending metal, and hearing across miles. He cautions that if she loses control, she could lose her mind. Jaime asks about Sarah, and Jay admits no one knows what happened. Despite his feelings, he reminds her Sarah is dangerous and has survived a bullet to the head. Meanwhile, Ruth urges Jonas to investigate Paradise. He refuses until Jaime volunteers to accompany her. Ruth and Jaime drive to Paradise, posing as officials. A CDC doctor, Marty, shows them victims of a man-made gas called DMC-30, developed by their own group. The gas kills but fades in 12 hours. Ruth begins collecting samples while Jonas keeps a rescue team ready. At headquarters, Jay receives a note and Rose from Sarah asking to meet. In Paradise, Jaime hears faint sounds and discovers a girl named Vivian. Jay goes to meet Sarah with a gun in hand. When he finally sees her, she approaches and lowers his gun. Ruth goes to investigate, leaving Jaime to protect the child. Shortly after soldiers arrive, and Jaime realizes they plan to capture Vivian. She escapes and hides with the girl in a surplus store. Becca calls, upset about moving to their father's. Jaime tells her to wait. A soldier finds them, and Jaime knocks him out with a paint can. Ruth returns, sets a grenade trap, and when it explodes, Antonio's team arrives to capture the rest. Elsewhere, Sarah tells Jay she was hacked during her earlier rampage. At a diner, Vivian thanks Jaime and Antonio before leaving with family. Antonio believes Vivian's immunity to the gas is key. Interrogating a captured soldier, he learns the attack was a test and more shipments are coming. That night, the Burkett group raids the facility and stops the trucks. Jaime finds a map marking more targets and realizes the larger threat. Jonas apologizes for risking her too soon, but Jaime says she's ready and joins the team officially. Later, she makes it to Becca's talent show in time. Becca performs beautifully and Jaime praises her, promising they'll stay together. They leave, laughing about where to get pizza. Jay and Jaime train in the Burkett group's underground facility. Their sparring goes badly, and Jaime admits she struggles to accept her machine side. Jay explains that discipline will help her override programming and control her reactions. Later, Jaime has lunch with Becca at a cafe. Jonas calls and orders her to locate a nearby target. Reluctantly, she agrees, sends Becca shopping, and subdues the man when he attacks. At headquarters, Jonas amuses Ruth by beating a lie detector. Elsewhere, Sarah meets Dr. Anthony Anthros, Will's father. Her system is deteriorating, and he gives her an injection to calm her tremors. She asks if Jaime will suffer the same fate. He urges her to bring Jaime to him, believing he can save her. Jaime storms into Jonas's office after discovering her implant transmits video. He explains removal would paralyze her. Furious, she accuses him of owning her. He insists it's for protection and assigns her to guard Heaven Von Fleet, daughter of a wealthy arms dealer. At a hotel, Heaven's father warns that she's rebellious. Heaven appears mid-argument, dismisses Jaime coldly, and leaves. That night, Jaime relaxes with Becca at home. They dance, share wine, and laugh. Watching from a rooftop, Sarah remembers the night she lost her sister in a drunk driving crash. Later, Jaime dreams of Sarah saying their systems connect them and warning her not to let others control her vision. She wakes to find Sarah in her room. They fight until Sarah reveals she knows about the tracker and urges Jaime to meet her at an old sulfur plant. Before leaving, she insists they need each other. Burkett watches everything through Jaime's implant. Jonas orders a full alert, but lets her meet Sarah while secretly preparing an ambush. While watching over Heaven, Jaime complains to Nathan about her babysitting job. Heaven slips away, and Jonas scolds her through the feed. Jaime tracks Heaven to a tattoo parlor and drags her out. She leaves the girl with Ruth and meets Antonio, who says Sarah is likely working with Dr. Anthros, now escaped, and that their plan involves her. At the sulfur plant, Sarah admits she's losing control and needs Jaime's system to survive. She says Anthros can fix her if he studies them both. Before Jaime can respond, soldiers attack. Feeling betrayed, Sarah dives into the sea. Jaime confronts Jonas for breaking their deal and hiding the truth about Sarah. She argues Sarah isn't evil and deserves help. Training resumes, and Jaime defeats Jay. Antonio provokes her into fighting harder until Jay stops her. Antonio praises her aggression, saying Sarah would do the same. Across the city, Sarah struggles to move and takes another injection from Anthros. Later, Jaime tells Jay about the sulfur plant. He warns Sarah will feel betrayed and reminds her that her video feed is always live. Jaime collects Heaven from Ruth and takes her to a nail salon. Sarah appears, warning of an ambush. Jaime hides Heaven and fights off the attackers, joined by Sarah, who shoots several men. Afterwards, Sarah apologizes for Will's death and admits she hadn't known Jaime was pregnant. She reveals she's dying and thinks Jaime's bionics might save her. They flee with Heaven and reach a parking garage. Sarah helps Jaime disable her tracker, but Jaime suffers a nosebleed. Sarah accuses Burkett of lying and insists Anthros is the only one who can help. Jaime refuses, and Sarah leaves, saying she'd rather die free. Jaime returns Heaven to her father, who thanks her. Heaven promises to start self-defense classes. Meanwhile, Sarah meets Anthros again. He tells her she's losing control and that Jaime won't understand until she feels the same pain. At home, Jaime finds Sarah calmly posing as a neighbor while Becca serves her tea. Moments later, Becca collapses, drugged. Sarah threatens to kill her unless Jaime comes with her to Anthros. Jaime pleads with her to stop. Sarah hesitates, lays Becca down safely, and realizes Jaime has reactivated her tracker. Disappointed, she retreats. Before leaving, Sarah warns that Burkett will destroy Jaime too, that Will only saw her as an experiment, and that his love was never real. Jaime chases through an alley, vaults a fence, and lands badly on a manhole, injuring her toe. Limping, she opens a parked car and finds Becca with a boy. Furious, she pulls her out, scolds her for lying, and learns Becca claimed to be older. Jaime ends the talk and sends her home. At Burkett, Nathan treats Jaime's toe. She complains her nanotech should have healed it, but he explains her systems are still experimental. They joke lightly before she admits she's upset about Becca's lying. Nathan reminds her it's normal teenage behavior. Jaime asks him to keep quiet and he agrees. Elsewhere, in a card game, Sarah is gambling with a group of men. Suddenly, Jay and other soldiers from the Burkett group raid the place. Sarah is quickly apprehended. Later, Jonas tells her she owes $27,000 for the repair and reprimands her for spying on her sister. He shifts to business, showing footage of captured CIA analyst Mark Stevens held in Paraguay by the Sons of the Red Sand. Since the U.S. can't intervene, Jonas assigns Jaime and Antonio to rescue him, assuring her Becca will be watched. The next morning, Jaime's breakfast attempt ends in flames. Her bionic skin heals instantly from the burn. Becca apologizes for lying about the boy, calling him a jerk. Jaime laughs and lies about going to Napa with friends. Before departure, Antonio reviews the mission. Jaime spots Sarah on a gurney, asking about Becca before being taken away. Antonio says Jonas will handle her and urges Jaime to focus. As a scientist is working on Sarah, she attacks him. Jonas gets into the room and tells her to let him go. He tries to tell her that they will help and update her, but Sarah calls him a liar. On the plane, Jaime struggles with turbulence. Antonio distracts her, saying protection isn't the same as deceit and that trust doesn't need full honesty. When turbulence hits again, she squeezes his hand too hard. In Paraguay, they meet a frightened police officer who warns that entering the compound is suicide. He provides the location and says the only way in is through a deadly ventilation fan. That night, Jaime bends through the fence and disables the fan. Antonio triggers an alarm to stage their capture. Inside, they're brought to the leader, who forces Dr. Stevens to decode sensitive files. Antonio signals Jaime, and together they take down the guards. Afterward, Antonio orders her to restrain a survivor while he kills Stevens, claiming the doctor's knowledge could expose them. Jaime refuses and attacks Antonio, telling Stevens to run. During their escape, Jaime is shot in the shoulder but keeps moving. She reverses the fan blades to block pursuit. Hiding in a shop, Stevens removes the bullet and reveals her artificial cells will fail within 5 years, killing her. He confesses he left the CIA after decoding intel that caused civilian deaths. Back at Burkett, Jay talks to Sarah. As they are talking, she overpowers him and uses him to escape. By morning, Antonio finds Jamie and demands the doctor. He argues that killing Stevens protects her, but Jaime refuses and defeats him. When she checks the hiding place, Stevens is gone. Back at Burkett, Jaime confronts Jonas about her 5-year lifespan. He says he was protecting her, claiming 5 years is plenty of time. She calls it deceit and demands honesty. Jonas promises to find a cure. At home, Becca confronts her for lying about the trip after Carly, the friend Jamie said she was with, drops off her shoes. Jaime admits she can't explain but asks for trust, saying she loves her more than anything. Becca replies that trust goes both ways. Jaime assures her she'll never leave her. In an army hospital, a comatose soldier wakes. His eyes look empty. He slashes a nearby patient with a scalpel, seizes a rifle, and shoots everyone he sees. At home, Jaime drinks margaritas with Becca and their friends. The TV interrupts with news about the soldier, a former POW who was near death for 2 months and scheduled to go home. Jaime's phone rings. At Burkett, Jonas briefs the team. The soldier has a neural implant for depression, and it appears to have dangerous side effects. 3 other POWs from the same Al-Qaeda cell attacked in similar ways. The technology traces back to Howard Samuels at Stanwick University. Antonio will chase the buyer. Jaime will go after the end client by enrolling undercover at Stanwick as a British transfer student named Clarissa White. To sell the cover, Jaime has to pose as a neuroscience major. Nathan crams her on the basics. She admits she would rather study Irish literature and write about James Joyce. Pretending to be a scientist feels impossible. Nathan tells her to wear glasses and fake it. In Samuel's lecture, her phone rings. He calls her out and asks a pointed question about brain regions. A kind teaching assistant, Tom Gilchrist, slips her a note with the answer. Antonio and Ruth flag a student named Nadim Samad as suspicious. They argue about whether this is profiling or insight. Jaime's Japanese roommate, Aoki, adores neuroscience, but she is confused by an assignment on Joyce. Jaime offers a trade. Aoki can handle the lab work if Jaime writes the paper. Aoki drags Jaime to a campus party. She bumps into Tom, and there is an instant spark. He says Samuels is harsh but brilliant. His father died of Parkinson's last year, so he wants to be a neurosurgeon. From Berkut, a jealous Nathan blasts a screech into Jaime's bionic ear and reminds her to break into the lab. In Samuel's office, she copies files on neural implants and sends them to Nathan. She sees a file on Tom and hesitates to read it. Samuels and another teacher, Sean, catch her at the desk. Samuels assumes she is stealing for a drug company. Tom arrives and covers for her, saying he told her to clean monkey cages to get back in Samuel's good graces. After, Jaime claims she needed a copy of a lecture because her notes are a mess. Tom offers help on one condition: she has to go to dinner with him tomorrow. She agrees. Antonio tails Nadim without much progress, then hears Nadim get a call about a drop. In class, Samuels leads a lab demo. Sean runs the controls, while a patient with an implant shows dramatic changes and obeys commands with an altered pain response. Jaime is horrified and tells him to stop. Back in Berkut, background checks show Samuels is clean. Suspicion shifts to Tom, who supposedly has a Stanford degree in cognitive and neurosystem sciences. Jaime and Tom grab coffee. While sitting, they share a first kiss. Antonio barges in and pretends to be her uncle. After Tom leaves, Antonio says Tom lied about Stanford and should be treated as hostile. Jaime refuses to believe it. On the way to a bookstore, a man attacks Jaime. He is the same patient from the demo, and he says he cannot control himself. Jaime subdues him and brings his implant to Berkut. She admits Tom was the only person who knew she would be at the bookstore. Jonas wants to pull her out. She refuses. She says no one can get closer to Tom than she can. Jaime goes to the date with Tom. Neither of them likes sushi, so they ditch the restaurant and head to his place. Things heat up fast. Jaime pauses, asks him to fetch champagne, then searches the apartment. Everything looks perfect. She notices a vial of tarragon, opens it, and finds an implant hidden inside. Tom has lied. She leaves, angry at herself. Antonio and his team track Nadim to his brother's apartment. Under pressure, Nadim gives up the details on the drop. The patient's implant matches Tom's. Jonas orders Jaime to tail Tom and stop the delivery. Lethal force is allowed. She watches Tom hand an envelope to a rough-looking man. It holds only a quiz. Tom demands to know who she works for and admits he is CIA. Both realize they have been running from each other. Jaime tunes her bionic ear to nearby chatter and hears the real drop is happening at a farmer's market. Tom tells her to hang back. He moves towards Sean, the real culprit. Jaime spots armed men closing in and jumps into the fight. She saves Tom from a bullet. Sean runs for it. Jaime knocks him down. Later, Antonio reminds her that the CIA hates Berkut for cutting through red tape. Getting involved with Tom is a bad idea. Jaime packs to leave campus and tells Aoki there is a family emergency. Aoki hands back the Joyce paper. It earned an A, and the professor wants her to apply to graduate school. Jaime stops by Tom's place to say goodbye. He shares how he joined the CIA and asks about her story. She suggests they skip the heavy talk and enjoy one normal night. Jaime tells him her real name. They share a long kiss. A secret exchange is underway. Someone is willing to pay a fortune for something called the list. Jonas, Jay, and the Berkut team are hidden nearby, watching. When the money appears, the seller suddenly shoots the buyer, grabs the cash, and escapes before Berkut can reach him. The buyer is still alive, and Jonas orders him taken in for questioning. The killer and the money are gone. At the same time, Becca is getting ready for a movie night. She plans to invite a boy she likes over to watch a Tarantino film. Meanwhile, Ruth questions the wounded buyer, hoping to learn more about the mysterious list. Jonas tells Jaime about the next mission. An arms dealer named Victor Booth has the list, which contains information on both CIA and Berkut agents. Jaime is assigned to go to Paris and stop the sale, but since the CIA is also involved, another agent will join her. She requests Tom, saying they already work well together. During a sparring session, Jay points out that Jamie relies too much on her bionic strength. She needs to learn how to hide it. As they are talking, Tom walks in. The team, Jamie, Tom, Ruth, Jay, and Nathan, flies to Paris. Jamie and Tom pose as a newly married couple, while the others coordinate with the CIA. Nathan sets up a system that can identify Victor through his eyes, since plastic surgery has changed his face several times. In Paris, Tom gives Jamie a wedding ring for their cover story. The moment between them almost turns romantic again. Jamie leans into it, but Tom stops himself. Later, during surveillance near the embassy, Tom explains that he avoided Jamie because emotional ties could be dangerous in their line of work. Back home, Becca's romantic evening turns into chaos when the boy she likes arrives with another girl and a crowd of friends. At the reception, Jamie uses her enhanced senses, with Nathan guiding her. They spot someone who could be Victor, but he avoids meeting Jamie's eyes. Pretending to be an art collector, he lures them into a basement to look at a painting. The moment Jamie locks eyes with him, Nathan confirms his identity, but Victor traps them in a wine cellar before they can act. Jamie contacts Ruth for backup, then helps Tom break down the door. They rush to stop the deal, pretending to be a couple sneaking off to make out when guards pass by. After taking down the guard, the act becomes unexpectedly real, and they kissed again. Back in the States, Becca, slightly drunk and angry, leaves her own party to drive around. She's quickly stopped by the police. Meanwhile, Jamie and Tom reach the meeting point. Despite Tom's insistence that he should go in alone, they both enter. A fight erupts and they get the upper hand. In the end, Jamie goes through a window with Victor, where Berkut's van is waiting below. But it turns out the man she captured isn't Victor at all. As they drive away, Jamie realizes Tom has been left behind and possibly taken by the real Victor. At the safe house, Jamie tries to call Tom. Instead, Victor answers. He demands $6 million for the list and $2 million more for Tom's release. Jamie contacts Jonas for the money, and he agrees while also bailing Becca out of jail. The team prepares for the exchange, reminding Jamie that the mission is about recovering the list, not rescuing Tom. Ruth notes that Jamie is still wearing the fake wedding ring and warns her to stay focused. Later, Jonas drives Becca home. She questions him about what Jamie really does for work, doubting the story about selling timeshares. Jonas protects Jamie's secret. Jamie arrives at a small cafe to make the exchange and immediately spots Tom sitting at a table. As they talk, Tom openly talks about his feelings for her, but Jamie soon realizes that Tom is in serious danger. Victor has strapped a bomb to his chest. Victor, disguised as a waiter, appears and presents the list. Jamie discreetly uses her bionic eye to scan and transmit the data to Nathan, completing the main objective. Once that's done, she attacks Victor, turning the cafe into chaos. Victor manages to escape, and Jamie quickly shifts her focus to disarming the bomb with Nathan's help. Working under pressure, she succeeds just in time. Tom rushes off to pursue Victor, but Jamie's bionic speed allows her to catch up first. She takes Victor down before Tom can even reach him. After the mission, Jonas debriefs Jamie. He praises her success, but also reminds her that she took unnecessary risks and lost the ransom money. Still, he protects Becca by pretending her sister never got into trouble while Jamie was away. Later, Tom and Jamie meet again. He tells her he won't disappear on her this time, but Jamie decides to postpone anything romantic. She just wants to go home. When she returns, Becca has a surprise waiting. The apartment is quiet, the lights are low, and a candlelit bath has been prepared for her. Jamie spots a man carrying a briefcase full of illegal goods. She follows him through the streets while taking a call from Tom, who wants to confirm their upcoming date. The two flirt briefly, but Jamie gets distracted and misses the moment when the briefcase changes hands. Her enhanced vision lets her track the new carrier from a distance. She's too far behind to stop him before he jumps into a car, so she takes off after it on foot. Using her bionic power, she leaps over the vehicle and tries to kick through the window, but the glass is bulletproof. But it still works in her favor. The startled driver crashes, and Jamie recovers the briefcase before calling Tom back. Back at Berkut, Antonio reprimands Jamie for taking personal calls during missions, reminding her that relationships can be dangerous in their line of work. He and Jonas brief her on the latest assignment. A high-tech sniper rifle has been stolen, and intelligence suggests it will be used to assassinate President Rudan, a controversial African leader visiting the United States for a horse race. Jamie doesn't understand why they need to protect a dictator, but Jonas stresses the diplomatic importance. Jamie and Antonio meet with Rudan's security chief to assess possible sniper positions. Antonio easily identifies the best vantage point, and Jamie realizes that his precision hints at a past as an assassin. During therapy, Ruth tries to get Jamie to open up, but Jamie admits she only attends because it's mandatory. She complains that Berkut feels lifeless and sterile, suggesting they could at least add a plant or two to make it less depressing. That evening, Tom shows up at Jamie's house with flowers and wine. The dinner goes smoothly, though Becca's curiosity leads her to question how a timeshare salesperson and a calculator executive met. Jamie and Tom give vague answers, but Becca clearly suspects that her sister's job isn't what she claims. During the meal, Antonio calls with urgent news. President Rudon has arrived early. Jamie quickly excuses herself. At REBOOTED, Nathan confirms the early arrival using his tracking software. Jonas remains unimpressed but acts on the data, calling Jamie to alert her. Jamie tells him she already knows. Antonio called her minutes earlier. Jonas insists that's impossible, since he and Nathan only just discovered the change. Back at the apartment, Becca vents to Tom about Jamie's sudden departure. Tom reassures her that Jamie takes her work seriously before leaving to answer a call from his own agency. At the airport, President Rudon's plane lands just as Jamie races to the scene. The sniper is already in position. Jamie manages to push the president out of the line of fire, saving his life. She and Antonio urge him to leave the country, but the president refuses. Tom soon arrives with the CIA team and scolds Jamie for not wearing protective gear, sparking tension between him and Antonio. While searching the area for clues, Jamie questions how Antonio knew about the president's early arrival before anyone else. He claims the tip came from the security chief. When Jamie presses him about his cynical attitude toward relationships, he tells a story about a woman he once loved and lost on assignment in Africa, then admits he made it up. After she leaves, Antonio quietly covers up the empty shell casing left by the shooter. Jamie takes a piece of rubber she found near the sniper's position and takes it to Nathan for analysis. Nathan examines the rubber sample, saying it will take time to process. Jamie uses the delay as an excuse to head home. On her way out, Ruth proudly shows off a new plant in her office, hoping it makes the workplace feel more welcoming. At home, Jamie finds Becca asleep on the couch. She apologizes for leaving earlier, and Becca urges her not to mess up her relationship with Tom. Meanwhile, Antonio inspects the sniper's shell and receives a mysterious phone call. Jamie's phone rings next. It's Nathan, reporting his findings. The rubber came from a sneaker with chlorine residue, allowing him to pinpoint the sniper's location. He says Antonio already knows but told him not to involve Jamie. Suspicious, she drives off toward the hotel where the assassin is believed to be hiding. On the way, she spots two people kissing under a streetlight. Her enhanced hearing picks up their conversation, revealing they're CIA agents assigned to keep tabs on her. Annoyed, she quickly disables both and continues on. At the hotel, Jamie tracks Antonio's car and sees him talking on the phone, warning someone to stay away. She assumes he's protecting the sniper. When she confronts him, he's surprised to see her and claims he told Nathan to let her rest. They search the hotel together, but the sniper is gone. Jamie quietly watches Antonio, growing more suspicious. The next day, she tells Jonas that Antonio might be collaborating with the assassin. To test him, Jonas feeds Antonio false information that the president will be seated in a different box at the racetrack. Later, Tom meets with Jamie and she angrily accuses him of having her followed. He denies it, explaining that surveillance is routine when CIA agents start new relationships. Jamie isn't convinced but leaves for work. At the racetrack, she and Antonio split up to watch potential sniper points. Jamie secretly follows him, but Antonio spots her and pulls her into cover, demanding an explanation. She admits she suspects him of working with the killer. He tells her the assassin is his former lover, the woman he mentioned earlier, and insists he's been trying to stop her. Jamie hesitates but decides to trust him. Realizing that the false information must have been leaked, Antonio warns that the president is now exposed. He goes after the assassin while Jamie races to protect the target. Using her speed and strength, she reaches the president's box in time to pull him to safety. Antonio corners the assassin, and Jamie joins him. The confrontation ends in a deadly standoff. The assassin shoots Antonio and he fires back, fatally wounding her. As Antonio is taken to an ambulance, he tells Jamie the full story of his past with the assassin and assures her that he would never abandon her as he once did his former partner. Moments later, his heart stops. At REBOOTED, Jamie reads Antonio's file in silence until Jonas approaches. He gently tells her that the first loss is always the hardest, confirming that Antonio didn't survive. That night, Jamie visits Tom. She tells him she can't keep doing this, that she isn't made for this life. Tom holds her to comfort her. The REBOOTED group gathers to mourn Antonio's death. Everyone speaks kindly of him. Jonas pulls Jamie aside and asks if she's okay. Jamie brushes it off, saying she's used to it by now. Later, Jamie goes out on a mission with Nathan guiding her. She's following a man on a motorcycle. When she asks who he is, Nathan simply yells that the man is a bad guy. Suddenly, the man starts speeding, and Jamie uses her bionic speed to chase him through the streets. When she finally catches up, he fires at her. Jamie dodges the bullets, but the man escapes. She keeps chasing him until he turns and rides directly at her. Jamie manages to knock him off the bike. Shocked, the man asks who she is. She orders him to shut up, telling him he can ask his questions back at REBOOTED. Later, she calls Tom and leaves a voice message, telling him she's having a hard time and wants to hear a friendly voice. She then goes upstairs where she finds Jonas. Becca tells her that Jonas was doing the dishes. Jamie asks Becca to give them a minute and turns to Jonas. She accuses him of invading her personal space, but Jonas insists he's just concerned. He tells her she hasn't processed Antonio's death and suggests she take some time off. Jamie protests, saying work is the only thing holding her together. Jonas insists that she needs a vacation and that REBOOTED will cover the cost. Jamie refuses to accept what she sees as a handout, so Jonas offers her a small task to make it official. He asks her to deliver a briefcase to a man in Montana. Becca and Jamie set out on a road trip. Meanwhile, back at REBOOTED, Nathan asks Jay to train him. Seeing Nathan's bruised eye, Jay asks what happened. Nathan admits that his older brother sometimes gets physical with him. When Jamie and Becca reach their destination, Jamie makes an excuse to step away and make a call. She takes the briefcase and meets the contact. After confirming his identity, she hands over the case and calls Jonas to report. Then she gives Becca her phone, asking her to hold on to it for the rest of the trip. As they walk through the hotel lobby, the man who took the briefcase spots her. Later in his room, he takes out a syringe, injects himself with something, and begins to convulse. Jonas calls Jamie through the hotel's phone and asks her to check on the man she delivered the case to, giving her the room number. Jamie tries to make an excuse to leave, but Becca introduces her to a guy she just met named Nick. Jamie tells them to grab breakfast and heads to the room. When she arrives, she finds the man dead. She calls Jonas to report it and asks who he was, but Jonas refuses to say. While searching the room, Jamie finds a sniper rifle. She asks what was in the briefcase, but Jonas only tells her to hide the body in the bathtub and leave the rest to him. She hides the briefcase under the bed and leaves, but changes her mind and goes back. Opening it, she finds documents and a photo. Later, she rejoins Becca and Nick. As they talk, Nick's father, Vincent, joins them, and Jamie recognizes him from the photo in the briefcase. Jamie borrows a valet's phone and calls Jonas, demanding answers. He tells her that Vincent is a nuclear engineer, planning to sell technology to North America. Later, Jamie, Becca, Nick, and Vincent go on a gondola ride. Jamie notices armed men nearby and bluntly asks Vincent about them. He brushes it off, saying some people dislike his work. When she asks how accounting could be controversial, his demeanor changes. After the ride, Becca asks how Jamie knew about Vincent's supposed accounting job. Jamie later calls Jonas and tells him that Vincent recognized her. Jonas orders her to kill him before he does. At the spa, Jamie slips away, sets up her sniper rifle, and takes aim at Vincent, but she can't pull the trigger. Jay urges her over the phone, saying it's either her or him, but she still can't do it. Instead, she sneaks into Vincent's room, takes out his guards, and kidnaps him. She calls Jonas, making him speak directly with Vincent. Jonas gives Vincent a choice: talk or die. Vincent agrees to reveal what he knows about the technology deal, but insists on protection, claiming his own people will kill him. Jamie drives Vincent and Nick to a safe house, but hears a strange sound in the car. Realizing it's a bomb, she rushes them out just in time, saving their lives. She then steals a nearby car and calls Jonas to update him. Jonas is already on his way to Montana with Nathan. Jamie takes Nick and Vincent to a hotel. Vincent asks about her strength, but she brushes it off. Jonas calls, telling her to meet him out front. As they head there, Jamie notices more armed men and attacks them, escaping with Vincent. Outside, the valet whose phone Jamie used earlier spots her and starts calling out. As he approaches, Jonas tases him. When the man falls, they see he was holding a gun. Later, as they drive back, Jamie confides in Jonas about keeping her secret from Becca. He encourages her to tell the truth, though she's afraid. Back at the spa, Jamie pretends she's been there the whole time. Becca, noticing no change in her skin, jokingly blames the staff. On their way home, Jamie finally opens up about Antonio's death and how it's affected her. Becca tells her she can always come to her. When Becca asks if there's anything else she wants to confess, Jamie says no. Then they continue driving home.